Hello and welcome to the second Coach on a Couch. Just as a quick reminder, this is a continuing experiment of essentially daily video journaling and sharing what I've been thinking about with agility in a casual setting with minimal preparation. The last couple of days, I've been really thinking about bias, the things as coaches and consultants that we bring into our experience as we support organizations. And specifically, the bias that is inherent in our path to where we are today. So for an example for me, I started out in Kanban and very flow-based centric approaches and building your own process and evolving from where you are. And as a result, now as a SAFe fellow and somebody who's very deep into SAFe, that's how I conceive of the framework. I don't see it as a set of rules and processes and constraints. I see it as a library of practices that you pick up and mix and match and use to achieve the outcomes you need in your environment. And the goal is and always has been flow for me in that context. Another story with Scrum. I started out with a very lightweight implementation of Scrum. It was a small project. Essentially, we got together every week and articulated what is our goal for this week. We wrote our sprint goal and we chatted as a team of how are we going to get there? What do we need to figure out? We made some notes, but we talked to our clients about that goal. Over the next 2 weeks, our team of 5 is going to go do this. And we think it'll look something like this, and here's a couple of sketches we have. And that was all we had. And we delivered something based on our learning and our progress over those 2 weeks. And the client was generally very happy, except for that one time we failed. But because of the relationship and the clarity we offered through that simple goal every 2 weeks, they were quite okay with that one failure. It was scary, it was challenging, but they weren't upset. They just wanted to see it get better. And that's the element that I'm really thinking about with this bias is it does two things to us. When we look at a framework, when we look at a process system, Scrum, SAFe, pick whatever you want to look at here, our history can add shadows, illusions that we build up and we add things that aren't actually there. We assume because there's a lot of stuff in SAFe that it must be prescriptive. But I don't see that. The other thing, though, it can do is create blinders. I look at Scrum and I don't see stories and tasks and estimation and all that stuff. And yet there's many Scrum trainers and many practitioners who assume, well, Scrum trainers don't, but practitioners assume all of that's part of Scrum. And often, even when I was teaching Scrum as a coach and as a trainer, I would teach the tasking and the stories back in the day. But to me, that was in the courseware. It wasn't necessarily like part of how you did something. And just thinking through that history makes me wonder, like, what do we do about this? So as we look at this situation, we have this bias. We have this background. I want to reflect back to a day or two ago, we did this 5th Discipline Book Club. And one of the things we talked about that I think is really important is we are part of the system. As coaches, we like to see ourselves as above and apart and outside the system, but we are part of the system. We are influencing and changing, and we are being influenced and changed by it. Jerry Weinberg talks about the cucumber and the brine, and we are influenced by our clients as much as our clients can be influenced by us. And I think the trick there is to ask why. And ask why in 2 different ways. In this system, as we draw ourselves in, look inward. Why do I see it this way? Why do I view a framework with this light? Why do I see this behavior in the client and not this other behavior? And then look outward. Why would it be done this way? Why would a well-intentioned, intelligent human choose to build it this way? And find that piece. And if we take that internal view, why would I see it in a certain way? And the outward view, why would somebody choose to do it in a certain way? I think that gives us the basis for better empathy and better progress. And when I put that together, I think the primary message coming out of this bias and baggage conversation isn't a negative one. It's not one of looking at, oh, I'm a horrible person because I have this bias, or that person's not a good coach because they have this bias. But instead look at it as, okay, this person has this background. They bring a unique set of viewpoints based on their background. And from there, I can start to, if not walk in their shoes, at least understand their point of view. Why would that intelligent, thoughtful person choose to do it this way, and build that empathy? And from there, we can start to find the underlying assumptions. Where do I see something differently than this other person? And if we take that gap of understanding that's probably leading to some sort of conflict, and we start to bubble it out a little bit, what assumptions do I have about that situation? What assumptions do they have? What led to this assumption that I have? What led to this assumption that they have? And at some point, as you kind of evaporate this cloud of assumptions, you will see an insight that causes the conflict to go away. It may not completely make it disappear, but at some point you'll have a breakthrough. It's like, oh, I get it now. I understand why you're choosing this. Let's solve this problem now together. Or they might have a breakthrough that says, oh, I never realized that this process over here was actually holding us back. I see why you didn't understand that or appreciate that. Let's see what we can do to fix this process so that we don't have this conflict over here. That is, I always thought of it as vanishing clouds, but apparently when I looked it up, it's the evaporating clouds technique, and it is one of the thinking processes in the theory of constraints from Goldratt. Well worth looking at. So anyway, thank you if you're out there listening. I really actually enjoyed recording this, so experiment number 2 complete, and have a great day.